Nice.
This will give me. How do you do? I wanted to ask, how do you run your podcast? Like, what do you do it off of?
Do you have a way to like share screens? Yeah, dude. I'll just show you. This will be easiest. Let's see here. How do I just share the whole screen? There we go. All right. So I have OBS. God, we got a matrix going on. I have OBS,
Okay.
free software, and you can do all these different templates. So like you can put whatever image or logos you want up right there. Why is
That's
it
sick.
looking like this? And then Mike, I like because specifically I've got a music background, so I like to be able to go in here and actually mess with my EQ and stuff like that. Where is it? Filters?
That's sick.
Yes, you can add like a noise getting compressor, stuff like that. But this little setup here with Riverside is pretty cool as well. I'd never heard of this before.
Yeah, it's really nice because like in the past for like my YouTube videos and stuff, I have like gone in and like chopped it all up and everything. But then with Riverside, it'll like the AI will just chop it up for you, and it'll
Nice.
make like clips for you and stuff. So it's really nice. But
Really?
all
Okay.
the as far as all the podcast stuff goes, let's get a little bit about Anson. So give me a little
Oh,
bit
we're
of like
recording. Okay.
yeah, yeah. I just click record when I get in here, and we just like
All
shoot shit
right.
or whatever. But yeah, yeah. So just give me a little bit of like your upbringing. I don't really know too much about you. I don't think many of my viewers know too much about you. So what got you into bodybuilding? Just a little bit about you.
All right, so I am 25 years old. I come from North Carolina in the United States. Very small town, no bodybuilding culture here whatsoever. I think what really initially got me into bodybuilding, like, 30,000 foot view looking way back, is when I was growing up, I really liked, like, you remember the old school He-Man cartoons?
Yeah.
I'd watch the hell out of those things, man. That was probably like my big obsession growing up was that. Action movies like Sylvester Stallone, Arnold, a lot of the old school movies, Terminator, Conan the Barbarian. Watching those things when I probably should not have been watching them. Like I was like six years old, watching Conan the Barbarian. But so that was like that kind of got me interested into the look. Growing up though, I guess at some point that kind of went away from me. It was always in the back of my mind though, is what I mean. Growing up, because I was actually the fat kid. I loved food. My diet my diet consisted of pizza, Uncrustable peanut butter and jellies, and Doritos growing
Yeah.
up. That's pretty much all I ate. And no sports background whatsoever. Played a lot of video games growing up. Still will from time to time. It's a nice way to relax and contest prep, stuff like that. But it got away from me, and I got homeschooled for most of middle school. So I wasn't around a lot of people. I'd kind of gotten into this hole of anti-socialism, got very, very antisocial, and just kind of started to move away from people and just receded into that tendency that I have. But I decided to go back to high school because one of my long-term friends, he had gone off to a different school that was not in the area, and he was coming back to school that was around me for high school. I was like, all right, I'm going to give this thing a try. And I went back in ninth grade year, and I was about 210 pounds of blob, like having never touched a weight, never done anything athletic ever.
Yeah.
And I was my full height then. I'm 5'9". So I was 5'9", 210, probably like 35% body fat or something like that. And I was like, man, I got to lose this fat or I'm going to get made fun of. That's what kind of sparked everything. At 15 years old, I dropped from 210 to, I want to say, like 115 over the course of like yeah. Over the course of, here's the thing though, over the course of like 3 months.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
like quick.
crazy. Dang.
I don't remember
that's
my
wild.
exact, I don't remember my exact diet, man, but it was like just straight up eating disorder. Like
Yeah, I can
the
imagine.
diet,
That's 210. That's like 95 pounds.
yeah, the diet was a lack of there. So like it was just a tuna packet, protein powder. That's probably about it. I mean, I maybe had tuna packet a couple times a day. Maybe I had like some chicken or something for dinner.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, I actually really didn't have much of an appetite at that age. And then as I got older, my appetite just went up and up and up. But so I got down to a skinny fat, 115, 120, no abs, no muscle definition. I think my arms were, I want to say 11 or 12 inches, something like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
absurdly
Right.
small.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Then I discovered weightlifting because most of that weight loss I did was just straight calorie deficit. Then I discovered weightlifting through the high school that I went to. We had a weightlifting program, and that kind of sparked my interest in everything. And then slowly over the course of freshman year in high school to senior year in high school, I started playing football once we got our program. We got it the second year that I was there. So what is that year? Junior year? Something like that? Sophomore? Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or yeah, second to last year. So those last 2 years, things kind of got kick-started by football. But those whole 4 years, I was actively bulking the whole time. And I think by the time I graduated high school, I was probably, I want to say 235, maybe 240. And this wasn't like a fast weight, it was like a whenever, like a midday weight, because I didn't know about all that back then. But yeah, it wasn't a pretty weight. But I had gone from benching 95 pounds, close to my body weight when I started, to repping 350 by the time I graduated high school, completely naturally.
Wow, that's awesome. Completely natural.
Yeah, at that time. And then very shortly after, at 20, I discovered, probably because of the dietary things I did, I discovered my test levels were like 180, naturally.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So going into college. I can imagine with that diet, yeah. Yeah, going into college, then I got introduced to TRT, and then that's where everything with bodybuilding kind of took off. And then kind of like a book, a bookmark in there. What really got me into bodybuilding was around 2016 when I discovered Rich Piana.
I can imagine that being a focal turning point is discovering him for sure. I never got into Rich's stuff when I was coming up. It was I'm still pretty young into this, so that was like after my time or whatever, or before my time. He had been past whatever.
Yeah.
I can imagine seeing that and being like, yeah, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to be.
All arms and shoulders. That's what every guy wants to look like.
Dude, seriously awesome. Yeah, for sure. But yeah,
I think that's pretty much kind of like my background in terms of like growing up. I've never told that before, so that's kind of an interesting question you asked there.
Yeah, for sure. I think hearing everybody's like background and like the how they got into it's always interesting, because like some guys like you are like the big guy. That's how I was. Like my little my backstory was like during COVID I gained a bunch of weight. Like I got super fat and everything, and then like my focal turning point for, I wouldn't say for bodybuilding, because I kind of got into like the wanting to compete side a year or two later after my weight loss like had started. But what my turning point was one day I played football my whole life, football, basketball my whole life, and
nice.
When I gained all this weight through COVID, I remember one day my mom's in the other room. I hope she can't hear me, but she was like, you used to get, you used to be one of the fastest kids at these like speed drills or whatever. Now you're like last. Like, what do you think happened? And I'm like, all right.
Gain muscle.
That was my.
Oh, you mean okay.
That was my point of being like, yeah, I gotta lose this weight, and that's kind of how I got like into bodybuilding and everything, was just through football and like the losing weight process, and then figuring out like this whole lifting thing is or bodybuilding, the bodybuilding lifestyle or whatever is like an all the time thing, and this is something I really like. And it's like football and basketball, you can only play football and basketball within like the parameters of the game, but it's like this bodybuilding game is like from the second you wake up to the second you lay your head down. So it's like it's a lot more cool like that. That's kind of like a little bit of my backstory, but a little more about you. I know that you own a gym, right? Or you've owned a gym?
Yes.
So how has that been?
It's amazing, man. Me and my dad have been at this gym since 2016, I want to say. Awesome. I'm thinking back because I know I had my first car and I was driving at that time. So I was born in 2000, so my age is always real easy to remember. This year I'll be 26 in June.
Yeah.
Basically, my parents have always kind of been into different fields of entrepreneurialism. My mom does real estate now. That's what she's currently doing. Back at that time, we were family friends with the people that owned it. They were looking to get out of the business. And my parents, this is back also, I kind of, skimmed over the high school and stuff, but high school was a very bad time for me, personally. I just had a ton of anxiety. I don't really want to say like depression or whatever, but I mean, I hated myself, so if that counts.
Yeah, right. You're right. Yeah, right.
This was very aimless. I didn't really have a purpose. And bodybuilding had kind of start to creep its way into my life, but it wasn't fully there yet. But fitness in general was. So they bought the gym and my parents also have always been involved in fitness as well. So it's something they were interested in. And it's something that they could see being a good path for me to go down. So they acquired it back in 2016. And I've been running the place pretty much by myself. My dad will do kind of like some back end stuff, some payment stuff. But I've been running the place pretty much for almost 10 years now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I heard you mention that on a podcast that you own the gym with your dad. I'm like, dude, that's so cool. That's got to be like...
It's the dream.
Like, it's the dream. Yeah, that's so cool. And where's that gym at? Where do you live at again?
I'm based out of Rocky Mount, North Carolina.
Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Yeah, that's
the middle of bum nowhere.
Yeah, me and you both, bro. Me and you both come from the middle of nowhere. But yeah, owning a gym's got to be so like, what's the word? It just helps like the bodybuilding like lifestyle or whatever. Just kind of lines up with it perfectly. So it's perfect. That's awesome. Yeah, I've got a little room where I've got a legit sized fridge. I got a microwave in there. I'm gonna get my rice cooker, air fryer in there. I could literally live at the gym if I wanted to. Quite literally, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So with bodybuilding, when you first started, you said that you got into college and you got introduced to TRT and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that was like your sign, like I want to go all in on this, was about that time.
Yeah, before that,
Yeah.
I just didn't know how to get into it. You know, it wasn't like things are nowadays. Like if you watch Think Big Bodybuilding and
Yeah.
Unracked, Andrew Barry will often say, you know, it's like Amazon Prime. It really is nowadays. Back then, still wasn't the case quite yet. I just had no idea how to dip my toes into the water. And to be honest with you, that's probably a good thing because I probably would have done things at 16 if I knew how to because I wanted to. Again, nothing against Rich Piana, but I knew about the stuff since I was 16 from following Rich Piana. And TRT was just kind of my stepping stone into that. And I didn't understand how these things worked. So I was like, all right, I'm taking 200 mgs a test every other week. I can eat whatever I want now and not get fat. Fast forward to me getting up to like 250, 260, which is what I weigh right now, except back then I was 35% body fat.
Yeah, right. This is a completely different look for sure. When you first started, or when you first started, and now, did you have like any like specific goals within competing and like as far as the competition goes, or has it always just been like a look or like whatever for you?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I'm both a competitive and a very non-competitive person at the same time, if that makes sense. Like, I'm competitive with myself. I don't really care what other people think about me. So while I would love to do well in competition, and every competition I've gone into, I've started it with the goal of winning, it is what it is. I care about that look much more than I care about the actual competition. So I am definitely motivated a bit more by that look because when I made that big weight loss journey, it was like, all right, I have no abs, 11-inch arms. This is the worst of both worlds. I have to fix this.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, I think you will last a lot longer in something when you're, I guess, talking specifically bodybuilding, you'll last a lot longer when you're chasing like a look rather than a placing, because that placing may never, like literally may never come, because bodybuilding is so like, is it objective? Is that the word? Subjective, objective, whatever. Because like
Yeah,
being
subjective.
judged by, like you're being judged by other humans. There's other genetic anomalies that are going to be maybe in the show that you're doing. What it's like, if you would just chase like the look and chase the pro level execution, the pro level this and the pro level things that matters instead of the pro card. I think that's really important. It's something that a lot of guys nowadays miss, is that they get into it for the card, and it's like you don't execute, bro.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
A lot of people are in it for the pro card. I'm in it for the progression. That's what really fuels me. And you're not even necessarily just the look, just progressing in general. Like I'll hear Jordan Peters talk about how he's addicted to progress, and that is 100% how I feel. My very first show that I did back in, I want to say 2022, the end of 2022, maybe like November. It could have been 2023 though. I placed dead last in everything I did. I think I did two classes. I think I did Classic Open and Classic Novice, and I was dead last in all of them. Destroyed. 5'9", I was 170 pounds on stage. After taking, not heavy cycles, but been taking gear since, 2021? So I'd been taking gear for about 2 years almost. And I weighed in at 170 pounds. So that's when I learned real quick, all right, that's not the answer. Something else has to be going on here. So then I kind of delved a bit more into the diet side of things. And I thought I improved my training. Looking back now, it still had a long way to go at the time. But from kind of locking in a bit more with my diet, then the next time I stepped on stage in 2025, May, I weighed 197 on stage. And I didn't win anything, but I beat some of the people who beat me at that first show. And I placed second in Classic Novice out of a class of like 12, 13 guys, something like that. Yeah. And I think I placed third or fourth in the Classic Open. Again, a very big class, like 14 people. So that was a huge win for me because that progression, I saw, okay, I'm not just bad and staying bad. I'm bad and I'm getting slightly better. Let's see what the next time happens.
Yeah, that's what you have to chase, is like progression. I think that guys just they see the anomalies that like the Antons of the world that would just do a show and do another show, and now they're at the Olympia, when it's like, that's not the reality for 99% of us, and you have to find those progressions. Like for me, I didn't gain a crazy amount of size from my first show to my second show, but I came in way better condition, and like that you have to find like those little progressions like that. And if you are just looking for that one big check mark or whatever, you miss all the little progressions. It's like
100%.
you're missing so much. But just speaking of bodybuilding and stuff like that, one thing I wanted to touch on was coaching, and your coach Joseph. How has it been having someone like that in your corner that's, you know, done this, walked the walk for a long time? And how important, I guess two questions. How has it been having him as a coach? And how important do you think it is for someone like that getting into the sport to have a good coach like that as well?
Yeah, first off, just to say on the topic of conditioning, I remember seeing your last post, your show you did. Your conditioning was phenomenal. I would argue pro level conditioning, and that's something I've yet to do. That's what I'm chasing. This next show is that level of conditioning.
Yeah, I was not to like go back on my conditioning or my show or whatever, but I'm 6 foot tall and I got down to 44.
You were diced. I believe it.
I was dying. I remember there was one day at work I like. What did I can't remember what I did afterward. I work at Walmart, so it's not like a super taxing job. But I went to my truck before going to the gym, and like I just took like a 5 minute like just kind of rest in my head. I woke up and it was just pitch black, and I was like, I fell asleep. I just kept. It was rough, but yeah, I appreciate that, bro. But that was the progression that I was looking for from my first couple shows. But I'll get back. There's one more point I want to hit with my prep.
Yeah,
but going back to you. Joseph, how has it been having him as a coach, and what do you think about having someone that's like he's very smart, like he knows his shit. He's been doing this for, you know, a long time. How important do you think it is someone that's getting into it to have a guidance like that in the beginning?
I think it's the most important thing. If I would have got with Joseph, 6 years ago, I'd be a lot better off than I am right now. Just to kind of go back into lineage, because it's not the first coach I've worked with. The first coach I worked with for about a year. Just a local guy, a good guy, but just wasn't really what I was looking for. He was coaching men's physique, and from day one, I've been a big believer in, like, you want to coach what you want to look like, and that was never something that I wanted to look like personally.
Exactly. That's a great point.
At least classic was always the goal for me. And then, very shortly after I realized, I don't have hollow bones, so classic's not going to work.
Yeah.
But then after I was with him for a year, I was with Blue Taylor for 4 years.
Really?
Yeah, great experience with him overall, especially the off seasons. Great.
Yeah, that's what he's known for. Yeah.
Yeah, he put up. I mean, like I said, I went from 170 pounds my first show to 197 my second show over the course of like a two-year off season. So what is that, like 15, 17 pounds of muscle per year? Yeah, so that definitely works. Overall, just the last approach we took with prep, and there were just some things here and there that I wasn't too happy with. And also, I'd been with the same coach for 4 years, basically my entire bodybuilding career. Technically, before I'd even stepped on stage, so I was like, I think it's just time to try a new approach. And I wasn't super happy with my last show look, and I followed everything like a monk. So it's like, what? Let's try it. So I started with Joe in August, and I competed in May. So what's that, like 2-3 months apart, something like that? Mm-hmm. 12 weeks actually, because I was 12 weeks into my post-show rebound with Joe. A story. I don't know if you've ever heard of somebody taking a 4-month post-show rebound, but I did.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
it's the longest one I've ever heard of. That's for sure. Yeah, because we just kept riding it out, and I guess Joe didn't really want to like disrupt things right off the bat, so we wrote it out for another 4 weeks. Continued that post-show rebound, and he is such a wizard at these things that I had that 12-week post-show rebound, and I hit a wall at that point. And with how he manipulated the food, because in the beginning, he didn't really mess with my compounds too much because they were already where they needed to be. And it's like, it's not rocket science, right? Like, you don't really mess with that stuff too much at a certain point. How he manipulated the diet, he said it was like I had a second rebound. It was ridiculous. I went from 197 to about 212 in that first portion of the rebound. Then I want to say those next 4 weeks, I went from 212 to about, 229 or 230, something like that. And the condition was relatively the same.
That's crazy. That whole rebound window is so fascinating to me because your body is in such a good state to grow, and like, yeah, it's such a cool thing to watch unfold, especially with like the first couple of shows you do. You're like, I know there's different approaches to take to it. Whether I know Joe's big on like, I think he is. He's big on like post show grow. Like, don't take it slow. Like push the envelope. And there's some guys that are like, no, take it a little slower, come off, whatever. When it's like it's like that little that progress that you could gain from that post show push is like so like attractive. It's like, shit, that's crazy, because there's been so many people that like, a good example, I'm not that many people watch this are gonna have a rebound like Joe Palacios, but like him, for example, him coming off of his rebounds are ridiculous, and it's like just seeing that, it's just like, a lot of guys, especially nowadays, push like the post show, kind of take it slow when it's just like, I don't know. I don't know. Not that either way is right or wrong. It's just there's benefits and there's ups and downs to both, basically.
Yeah.
You know, not one's right, not one's wrong. It's just kind of what you prefer, basically.
I'm of the belief as long as you can do it while maintaining health metrics, there's no reason not to.
Push that shit. Yeah, I agree.
Push it.
I agree. If you don't be if you're not being the dickhead after your show and eating a bunch of random shit, and you're not pushing gear to a retarded amount. You know, it's like just capitalize on that little period, because like this just some of the transformations that I've seen on people where they go, you gotta you get stage lean and then just push the envelope afterwards. Like it's something, man. It's the magical period. I'll say that.
That's really been the key. You mentioned a few times there, like not being a dickhead with the diet and just really locking in. That's been the biggest change for me, man, is I went into contest prep. I want to say that contest prep for the May show was, I think, like 22, 23 weeks. I went into contest prep then, and I've basically been in it ever since. I think I've had 3 free meals since then. And for me personally, I was listening to the Engineered podcast, if you've ever listened to them.
Engineered Muscle, the UK guys.
Yeah, the UK guys. Yeah. And Riz was talking about how he knows he can't really do the cheat meals because he'll just go too crazy with them. We're like, man, that's me.
I'm the same fucking way. Yeah, I spiral. Me. Like that's why, like, in the future, I'm gonna approach, like, not that I'm gonna be the dickhead that like brings Tupperwares to like Christmas dinners and shit, but like you have to know yourself. You have to know like your psyche as to how far you can like take free stuff off the plan or whatever. Because if you're the kind of guy like me, and it sounds like yourself, if you have a little bit off plan, it's like I can have a little more too here today, and then it becomes. This has been an issue I ran into actually recently, and I've actually finally locked my shit back in. But it's like that will turn into 2 weeks of you being like a little bit here, a little bit there, yada yada, and then what I've come to realize is like this could be a whole psychology lesson. Is like the way you do one thing is the way you're going to end up doing fucking everything, and that's going to bleed into shitty, maybe even shitty training. That can maybe bleed into shitty sleep habits or shitty whatever. I missed maybe this like post meal walk or whatever. I didn't get my steps today. It all comes back to this little cheat you had off your meal plan. If you just stuck to the fucking plan, it's like, you know, I don't know. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. I tell everybody that.
Absolutely. Like, I'm bad with it, man. I'm eating like exactly 7,000 calories a day right now. I think last time I put it in the chronometer, that's what it was. I could easily eat double this, and I'm on Retta. Yeah. I could eat double this, like no problem. Like I've had back like way back in like 2022. Because basically what I did right before I started to work with Blue, I had this little lag period where I worked for myself just for like a month or two, and I would diet crazy hard throughout the whole week for the summer. I'm talking like 1,500 calories. And then on Saturday, whatever I can fit in my mouth. I'd do 12,000 calories in a day. No problem.
Damn.
Yeah, like I'd go to McDonald's at 3 a.m.
Bro, yeah, me and you gotta buy it, bro. It's just, that's one of the worst things. It's like, I'll always be able to have an appetite because I was like that fat kid. Like I'll always have an appetite, but like
that's what it comes from.
It's like it's a double-edged sword. It's like I'm sure there'll come to a point where I'm like pushing food to a point where I'm like looking over the bowl and I'm like depressed and everything. But like for right now, I'm not having to I don't push food like that because I'm
at 7
size. Yeah.
At 7, I'm like just like a little apathetic towards food. That's it. It's like my food. I'm not thinking about it all day. And a lot of that too, though, is mental conditioning that I've tried to place into myself. Because another reason because I was talking about entering contest prep before my last prep starts and basically staying in it. I'm not someone who's terrible on a prep. I'm not someone who like is just mean to everyone, acting like an asshole all day. But like anybody, the last couple of weeks, let's say last 5 weeks, not great to be around most of the time, right?
Meeting the time.
And throughout the whole contest prep, extremely food focused. I didn't cheat. I've never cheated on a gram off plan off of any contest prep I've ever done. But you're thinking about it all day, every day, is how it was. Yeah. And I'm hoping that living how I'm living right now in the off season is going to translate into prep. And it's just going to be like, oh, this is just the same thing. I'm doing what I've been doing. Yeah,
that's probably some of the best advice I've heard from coaches is like prep and off season is the same thing. It's just your food's a little higher, your cardio's a little up, maybe you got a little, I don't know, clean, a little higher T3, a little T4, and that's That's all it is. It's like if you'll instill that in yourself to just live it, you're not in prep for a show, but you're living that lifestyle. 65, it's like when you make that transition to prep, it's like, okay, this is nothing. And like that's a mental conditioning thing I've did for myself, is like when I transitioned from my last off season, even though I've only done one show, whenever coach like, hey, it's time for prep, I'm like, okay, well, it's not like this big grand ole opry of like, oh god, prep's going, I have to lock it in. It's like, this is what you've been doing for the last year. And I think a lot of guys think that like that at that like 20 to 16 week out mark, it's like, all right, now we turn it up, now we really lock it in. It's like, you're already behind the 8 ball, dog. Like, you are already fucked up. And it's just, I don't know, if you just live it, if you just live the life, it's like you're never really out of prep per se, but you're not in prep, you know. That's something weird or whatever, but it's like, just if you just live it, you're always in it, basically.
Yeah. Joe talked about at a certain point during his prep series about it just felt like software in the background. That's what I want to achieve.
Yeah.
That's the goal I'm looking for. And now, I'm not going to say everybody, oh, don't take a cheat meal once a week. Like, if you can mentally get away with it, go for it. Me personally, and it sounds like you too, we're just not someone who can.
Literally can't. Like, not even like a little bit off. Like, even like if I take a bite of like something my mom eats, it's gonna bleed into the. I don't care. Like, I'm not saying like this is funny. I'm bringing this up. I've actually literally thought about getting food therapy. Cause I'm like, dude, I can't have the littlest bit and not just like go back to playing. It's like I'm either, and this is a double-edged sword in some cases, to where like you have to be all in on something, or you're just all the way out. Like, that's a good thing in some aspects, but it's also a bad thing in some. But another thing with, you brought up Joe, is I had a question right here, is as far as coaches go, who would be your dream coach if you could have? Not that Joe isn't, because he seems like a fucking banger of a coach, to be honest. But like, if you could have one of the big name coaches or something like that, who would you love to work with? Okay,
so I'm gonna give my real answer first, and then I'm gonna give like the actually answering the question answer second. Okay, so my first answer is, it is actually Joe. Legit, because like you mentioned, they're working with big name coaches. I've worked with big name coach before.
Yeah,
I've worked with a local level coach who can give you 100% of the attention, be there in person, stuff like that. Joe is the perfect coach for me because mentally we have very similar thought process. We have very similar approaches to compounds. Like, what he wrote for me is exactly what I would write. My diet, what he wrote for me, give or take a few things, is exactly what I'd write for myself. Training, he completely I don't think I mentioned this, but he completely transformed my training. Like, my training, it was completely terrible before I got with him. Like, I didn't realize it was, because my previous coach just that wasn't really his forte. It was more so diet and compounds with him. But with Joe, he's a master of training. And that's what I need. Because I come from that football background, that small town background. There's nobody who does this shit that I do in this area. Right. So I don't have any examples to go off of. The only examples I have to go off of are powerlifters. And it's not the same thing at all. No. Especially for legs. Like, I got away with it when it came to chest and back and stuff like that. But legs, man, I completely had to relearn how to train with Joe. So realistically, based on what I've seen, I don't think there's any other coach that could work for me better than Joe. Now, to answer the question in terms of like a fantasy football type thing. And also another thing, Joe has worked with most of the coaches that I would name. So that's a thing too. It's like he's
a trickle down effect, yeah.
Exactly. So like for me, Compton, Tuttle. Like guys like that. Yeah. Joe's worked with both of them. So outside of that, maybe I think everybody would want to do at least one prep with AJ Sims just to see what all the hype is about, right?
Yeah, that would be something to see. Some of those preps that he's like posted about, or just some of the things that I've heard of those preps is quite interesting. But yeah, I come from the same thought process, because my coach is Justin Wyatt. You may have seen him on Instagram before, and it's the same effect as what you're saying with Joe. Is he's worked with, like, I don't know who he's worked with specifically. I've never talked to him about it, but like I know that he was mentored kind of by like Martin there for a second, and then like he's worked with what's his name, Andrew Vu, I think, at one point. So it's like you're getting like a little bit of like a trickle down effect. Even if you're not working directly with them, you're kind of getting like a little bit of their knowledge. So it's basically like the same thing. But those are some of my guys too.
And another few people that I think Joe's worked with all these guys. He's worked with John Jewett. He's worked with Justin Harris. He's worked with, I think he had a little spell with Phil Viz there for a moment. Everybody. And like those are all guys. Like Phil Viz is like my level of neuroticism. So I'm like, okay, that could be really good or that could be really bad.
Dude,
like Joe mentioned.
Crazy.
Yeah, I love him. He's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's so many guys, and what are your thoughts? I remember you mentioned that. Fuck, I forgot my point. My question is, what are your thoughts on like guys nowadays coach hopping and stuff? Like I
Okay.
understand, like it's cool getting the info from,
Yes.
I know I get the idea of like, well, maybe I want to learn how, I don't know, fucking the boss of Outlaw peaks his guys, but I also want to learn how this guy does off seasons, where it's like I've heard the talk being like you need to let a coach learn your body. So like, what
Yes.
do you think is more important, like letting a coach learn your body, or trying to get as much info from this little coach, and whatever? Like, what's your take on that?
So it depends. Now, the first person that hops into my mind when you say this is Scott Mize. Scott Mize is an example of coach hopping done right because he's doing it with the intention of just learning from those coaches. And his competition goals are like whatever. It's like he just wants to learn. If somebody is going to a coach just because they want to learn information from that coach, not necessarily because they want to be the best competitor they can be, I think it's fine then. But
Okay.
my personal opinion, I am a very, very loyal person to a fault. I have been in very long, like realistically, I should have switched to Joe a lot earlier than I did, but because of my sense of loyalty, I didn't. Because I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. So I'm the type of person where like, I mean, as far as I see it, I will be with Joe for the rest of my bodybuilding career, so long as he has me. So
Yeah, that
I'm
makes
not
sense.
I'm not a coach hopper personally. Like
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
how I
hold
am
it
too.
against people.
Yeah, I think taking it to the approach that you're saying Scott Mize does, where like I want to get with this guy, I want to learn your peaking protocol, I want to learn how do you go about the off season? Do you push the fuck out of your guys, or do you keep them Chris Tuttle lean? Like just
Yeah.
learning all that kind of stuff, because it's like you can listen to Chris Tuttle's approach on a podcast, but you don't really know it until it's being applied to you. You
Yeah.
see the progress that you're doing, and it's like, oh, now I understand why X, Y, and Z. So like, I think that'd be cool too, is just to try different coaches. It's like, and then you gain all that knowledge, and then all that
Yeah.
knowledge is like you now. You get to. But then also, I am personally wouldn't do that ever, because I'm the loyal guy. It's like I wouldn't,
Yep.
for as long as like Justin wants, and Justin, I think it also is a little different having a coach that is a competitor as well at the same time. I do think that some people are better as just full-time coaches, and some people are better as like just full-time competitors. Like I do think there are some cases where it's like maybe you should just look into getting a Tuttle or like an actual coach that can pour all their time through their athlete. But I do think there is merit and value in having a coach that's also walking the walk, especially for someone like me. Like I think having
Yeah.
Justin as a coach is really good, because like he's in it. So like he can show me the diet, the training, the PEDs, yada yada yada, but he can also show me how to walk the walk, because that fucker walks the walk. Like he does
Yeah.
it. So it's like I have like a role model in that aspect as well. Whereas like some
Yeah.
people may already have that lifestyle locked down. They just need like an actual coach, and that's where someone like a Tuttle, someone like an Aceto or something like that walks in. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For
And
sure.
I think there's something to be said too about, it's going to sound like ageist or something, right? But I don't think you need to have somebody that is a coach who's like 40, 30 or 40 years older than you. I think that can cause some problems because
Yeah.
each generation of bodybuilding is so different in their approach. Like we have the approach of, I mean, shit, you can go all the way back to the 70s, right? I'm sure there are some guys who are around that environment. Maybe they have a little bit of a coach, which I guess that would technically be like an Aceto, right? He kind of came up in the 80s or so and then really started actually coaching in the 90s. I know me personally, I would not mesh well with Aceto just because I want to have a lot of answers, right? Like, okay, so why are we doing this? I'm not going to question my coach in terms of like, oh, this isn't right. Why are we doing this? I just want
You
to
just want to
know.
know
Hey,
the reasoning. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, hey, I'm interested. Can I know why? And then
Yeah.
Aceto's going to be like, well, because you see, I thought so.
Yeah, it's just kind of what I thought. Yeah, there is some. I do think that is something I've came across with coaches before, Justin before. Is like I love him to death. I love him having as a coach and having like a military sergeant as a coach. I think that's good
Yeah,
for someone my age. But like I also don't want to annoy the shit out of him with all my questions. So
yeah,
it's almost a blessing in disguise in my opinion, because it's forced me to like go learn on my own and learn
yes,
and make myself learn. So I think having someone like Aceto that's like, hey, here's this, do it, and then you
yeah,
knowing like, okay, I'm not gonna ask this guy questions because he's not gonna give me an answer, so I have to go learn myself. I think that there's value in that, but like if you are the kind of person like me that like wants to know, and you have the coach that's like, you're gonna ask a question, they're gonna be like, fuck
Yeah.
off. It can
And
be a
honestly,
little,
though,
yeah.
so how many, you said you've done your first show. How many years, like, are you, like, into the bodybuilding process? Probably, like, four?
Like
Three?
like one,
Okay.
like 2 years, like
Yeah.
locked in,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Well, who would have
one
said,
and a half, two.
if we would have said locked in, shit, I've only been doing this for 6 months, you know?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like you know, like that whole realization process I talked about earlier. But
yeah.
I think when you're like super into it, like super starting out into it, like you were mentioning earlier, somebody who is not necessarily going to give you an answer for every little thing is probably a good thing, because you
I
don't need to
agree,
necessarily worry about those things.
because that's the
Yeah,
overcomplication of stuff. Like that's another topic I wanted to get into you with,
yeah,
is the overcomplication of this process. Like, I think one of the funniest quotes I've heard recently, and the thing I'm going to keep going back to, is Luke Pritchard was like, "It's chicken, it's chicken, rice, and test, bro." It's like, it's
yeah,
chicken, rice, and test. And I think that's one thing that so many guys in 2026 are getting
yeah.
confused on, and they mess up, is the overcomplication of bodybuilding. It's like,
Yeah.
bodybuilding is not that I've built the physique to be able to say this, but just from what I can tell and from what I've heard, it's very simple. And like,
Mm,
whenever you start throwing in, like, I wanted to get in this to you too, is like the peptide talk, and then this talk, it's like you are adding in so many variables and you don't
yes.
have the foundation laid. Like, I talked about this with Chris Fine earlier, and he was like,
Yeah.
or the reference I made, I made a post about it yesterday. It's like, you're trying to buy kitchen appliances for a house you haven't even laid the foundation for yet.
That's
It's
funny.
like,
I used a very similar analogy. We were talking about this earlier in my Discord chat. I said it's like people are trying to reinvent the wheel, but they don't even have a car yet.
seriously, yeah. It's like, what is your take of this? I know you've talked pretty extensively about, the peptide talk and that whole thing.
Yeah.
So what is your take on that whole, like, area of fitness, and like, in a good way and in a negative way? Like, what are your thoughts on it in general?
So in terms of the overcomplication of things, the first thing that I would play like devil's advocate to it being good is this is typically going to kind of co-align with people also being more health conscious, more focused on blood work, more focused on like realistically things that like how old are you again? You're like all like right in your early 20s, right? 20.
20, yeah.
So you do not need to get an echocardiogram. Like it is not a, like there's no reason for that. Like if you could get one like magically done for free or whatever, great. But realistically, unless you have like some crazy family history, there's no need for that. I'm 25, and you could really even say the same thing about me. But you could maybe make an argument for me getting one just because I've been doing things for a while. But by the time you're 30, 100% people should start getting them. But I digress. You could say with the overcomplication of things that people are going to be more health focused, right? Like telmisartan, that wasn't a thing 10 years ago, 5 years ago in bodybuilding. People were not taking it. Ezetimibe, all these little ancillaries that have Retta, for example. And then the peptides, a lot of them, we're seeing a lot of positive health benefits from those things. But at the end of the day, it is just test, chicken, GH. That's all you need, like for open at
Yeah,
least.
seriously, yeah.
It really can be that simple. And I tell people often that bodybuilding is extremely simple, but it is one of the most challenging things you'll ever do. It's extremely hard, but it's not complicated. It's just about checking off the boxes. Are you eating the food that you're supposed to eat? Are you training how you're supposed to train? And also for a lot of people that need to hear this, are you resting? Are you taking more than one rest day a week?
Seriously, yeah.
Are you doing these things? If you
Exactly.
are,
Yeah.
you're going to end up where you need to be.
There's so many. I think people don't realize there are a lot of boxes to check off before you dive into the really niche one percenters,
Yeah.
as in like the peptides, or like the crazy, some of the crazy monitoring that I think it has value.
Yeah,
But for
like-
a lot of the younger guys, it's I was gonna ask you about that. I was gonna ask you about that here in a little bit. But yeah, so it's like people that are just getting into are trying to do all these things, but it's like, dog, your piss is brown, and you slept 2 hours last night. It's like, what are we doing? And it's like, I think what it is, what I said a couple of times today, is like the shiny object syndrome. That's literally
Yeah.
what it is. It's like, that's what's going to get pushed on social media. So that's what you're going to want to do, because you think that's the big needle driver. When you turn around and it's like, oh, you haven't nailed your diet for 5 months. You have done 2 sessions of cardio in the past 2 years, and your training is horrible. And it's like, yeah, but I think this peptide's gonna be it for me, man. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But like, and there's another negative about it, and I guess this is with anything really, that just gets started out, and you're just in the beginning stages of it. But it's like, we don't have long-term data on
Yes.
it, and all of the trials. I know that Retta and the GLP specifically have been tested on people, yes, but like, Mod C, SS31, all these other peptides have just been tested on like lab rats. And it's like, you know, people are just pushing the ante, which I think that, you know, there are good cases for it and there's cool stuff about it. I think they're super interesting. In my opinion, like if it's hard for me to like knock the crap out of them because like if I was the person that had a sponsor and was able to experiment with these, I would. I definitely would. I 100% would. And I know that you've had some experience with them as well, but it's like to the young kid who's trying to get into this, it's like, dog,
nah,
hold up. Let's just get the chicken GH and test down and let's start there. And then if like you get down the road and you need to move the needle 1% more, okay, let's talk about the Mod C, let's talk about whatever. But it's like, and then one thing that gets me going, and I understand some of the benefits that Retta has for like blood sugar or like glucose management, yada yada yada, but it's like I think there's gonna be a generation of dudes that grow up never having dieted correctly, and that bothers the shit out of me.
Yes.
Like having gone through preps without Retta is gonna be like a thing of the past, and that is like it's like, dog, that's scary to me because like what if that just gets wiped out and you have all this food noise, which I understand is real. I was a fat kid. If anyone knows who food noise is, it's fucking me and you.
Yes.
So it's like, and it's like if people are gonna go through preps and preps and preps on this Retta, and then never having learned what matters for long term, like not just long term physical health, but long term mental health. If you never built that fortitude of being, you know, there are days like going back to my prep. There were days that I was doing 850 calories in 2 hours of cardio. And I'm in high school working at a Mexican restaurant, and I didn't deviate off my plan once. And it's like, this kid's never gonna learn that because he's on Reddit. And it's like, it's just sad seeing that kind of like unfold with some guys that I follow. It's like, dog, you weren't even that out of shape, and you got on Reddit. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and it's like you're a part of that. That's the select few going forward that will have achieved elite conditioning without using it. So have you ever used Reddit at all? Have you not touched it?
No.
Okay, yeah. So I will say I've done both of I didn't know Reddit existed, my last contest prep, and it probably would have been helpful for me. Reddit specifically is one where I will say, okay, well, first of all these peptides, very person dependent, very individual responses. Like I've never, ever, like if you give a group of 10 people, if you give them 500 milligrams test, they're going to respond pretty similarly. Like you might have one hyper responder in there. You might have one low responder in there, but they're all going to get a pretty similar response. With some people, Reddit does the inverse of what it's supposed to. With some people, it elevates their blood sugar. With some people, they see an elevation of blood sugar because of how their liver is dumping glucose or something along those lines. I'm not an expert in it by any means. But some people can take 0.5 milligram a week and they can't look at food. Some people are taking 11 milligrams a week of this stuff. I think you
say they're taking 12. Someone was talking about 12 on the Talking Mess podcast.
Someone
mentioned that. Someone like 12 milligrams. I'm like,
which is absurd.
That is like I don't really understand the dosing. Like, I don't know what the recommended dosage is, but 12.
I'll say it like this. I'll say it like this: anything above 0.5 to 1 milligrams in an off season is probably counterproductive. Anything past 2 to 3 milligrams in a prep is probably not necessary. To me, it just shows a lack of understanding in how these things work, right? Because so you have the GLP 1, 2, 3. This is a chain of progression where they're taking that original compound and they're adding things to it each time. So to a degree, so Ozempic, that's the generation 1. What's the number one side effect we hear about with that? Stomach paralysis, GI issues, like nausea, things like that. Then you go to the chain 2, which is tirzepatide. A little bit less of that, but a little bit less appetite suppression. Then you go to Retta, it's got more benefits, but it's also got less side effects. However, one of the main metrics for appetite suppression was actually a side effect. So Retta has the least amount of appetite suppression in terms of physical inability to eat, but it has the best potential for glucose management, for potential health marker approval, and specifically, I think it has a certain interaction with dopamine. And that's when people...
something I've heard a lot of, with like
that's when people say... Yeah, that's when people say the food noise thing, because food noise is essentially that addiction to food. It's not a hunger. I'm someone who I'm both always and never hungry, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like I'm just a bottomless pit. Bro. Yeah, I'm a bottomless pit.
It's so funny hearing that shit. Yeah, I feel like I'm talking to a fucking mirror.
Like I don't get hunger pangs and prep. I've never been woken up by being hungry. But at the same time, all I ever want to do, all I can think about, all that is on my mind is eating. So for me, I started at a half a milligram of Retta, and I've been on 1 milligram for months. It's been, it's hard to say, right? Because I've not come off of it yet. I might be coming off of this before prep just to give my body a break. I'm not sure. Might just stay on it. I want to say a lot of the work I've done mentally is helping me there too. That I've instated good habits to get food focus away from myself, but I'd be lying if I said Retta hasn't been a game changer for me in terms of my mentality going forward. And I want to think that it's reprogrammed my brain to where like I could stop it and, you know, have those benefits. But regardless,
people say that,
yeah, regardless, I've seen so many benefits into my blood glucose that I don't know if I would want to come off of it, because I'd realistically, I would rather use a half a milligram to a milligram of Retta than have to use a shit ton of Lantus and have to use a shit ton of Novolog. Me personally.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So, speaking of blood glucose and all that, how has your experience been with using the blood glucose monitor? And kind of give me a little bit of a reasoning as to why someone would want to do that. And like, so like, I know you have like you have different times you read for different whatever. So like, just kind of give me like a basic overview of like why you wear it, what you want to be seeing, and like give like the viewer a little bit of overview of like why you do it or why someone would want to do it for bodybuilding.
Okay. So first and foremost, pricking your finger 20 times a day is really annoying. That's it.
I hate that shit. Yeah.
That should kind of like cost
the little
costly
strips.
as well.
The little strips are very expensive.
Yeah. Whereas if you go to, I think it's rapidrx.com or something like that, you can use code JP10, I believe, and you can get 2 of these for like 40 something, 50 something bucks, and they're normally $40 in a Walmart. Yeah. So, you know, first of all, it's price effective. Second of all, I really think also, you probably do want to have a regular glucose monitor on hand, just because sometimes these things can be unreliable. You want to just check it against your finger a couple times just to make sure it's on track. I think the main reason for not needing one, but wanting to use one more so, either one, if you have a history of diabetes in your family, or 2, if you're using a lot of growth hormone. Basically, that's what it comes down to, right? Like, I had never touched growth hormone until, like, I had maybe done like 2 IUs here or there, but I just couldn't really afford it in the past. So my post-show rebound is where I really started using it. I started out at 6 IUs. Big mistake. Anybody listening, don't start at 6 IUs. Start at like 2 and then work your way up because if you start at a high dose, you're going to get a lot of side effects really quick, and then eventually they'll go away. But regardless, then we worked up to 8, worked up to 9, and then worked up to, actually no, we went from 8 straight to 10. So I've been doing 10 for a couple months now. Came off during the cruise, went down to like 6 or 8, something like that. Yeah. But for me, I don't really get a ton of side effects when it comes to GH. I'm now starting to get a little bit of carpal tunnel just because I'm so heavy. Like this morning, I was 250.8 at 5'9". My afternoon weight is like 262. So the main side effects, from weight, I'm getting bad apnea, so my sleep's been a little shit lately. But I am starting to get I try to.
I always hear all the CPAP stories are so funny to listen to. Yeah. Guys getting this. I can't remember who was talking about. I think it may have been Andrew Berry was like, I tried wearing it and I just threw it off.
Rip it off.
I couldn't imagine, because I've had not to change the subject or anything, but I've had a deviated septum my whole life.
I probably do.
Yeah, I had a deviated septum and I had to get it cauterized, like where they like literally like set my nose, like they like burnt it out, and I haven't noticed like a drastic difference in my sleep, but like I don't know. I think if I were to have to wear the CPAP one of these days, I don't even think it'd bother me that much, because like before I would go to sleep and not even be able to think I could breathe and somehow just go to sleep. So I think maybe I could wear it one day, but just thinking about it, my stepdad wears one, and I see how he has to go through all of his processes with the CPAP. I'm like, damn, that's got to be a pain in the ass. Like, I have to bring that everywhere you go, hotels, and
the biggest kicker is, man, when I'm light, like between when I was at show weight, so like 197 to I want to say like 220, 230, I could actually wear it when I didn't need it. Now that I need it, can't wear the fucker. I don't know what the reason is.
You're just too big. You're just like, I can't have all this weight up here.
I don't know what it is, but for me, that has been the case. In the past, I'd have no problems with it. I'd wear it for 5, 6, 7 hours a night. Now it's a process. I'm adjusting my settings tonight. Hopefully tonight I'll actually be able to wear it. Mm-hmm. My apnea is bad right now, man. I mean, I'll wake up with a headache because I was holding my breath. You know, like it's not good. I've got to do something about it. I'm tempted to just like go back to taking THC to knock myself out so I can fall asleep with the damn thing on.
Yeah, because sleep's so damn important in the whole
Is
aspect of bodybuilding, and it's like that's probably the most overlooked metric
yeah,
in everybody's day to day, especially like a young beginner in bodybuilding. But going back on the peptide thing, I know
yeah,
you've had a couple of podcasts where you've gone a little bit more in depth on some stuff, so you seem pretty up to date with most of it, like knowing how most of them work or having experimented with them or whatever. So which ones have
hmm
you experimented with, and which ones have you seen like the most bang for your buck? That, like, let's say you do have the person that's trying to move the needle 1-2%. Which ones have you seen an actual effect with? Because you're the kind of guy, like me and Chris were talking about this earlier, where it's like having someone that's very locked into their process, like yourself, experimenting with a peptide like that, you're able to see a direct effect because you have all these variables already checked off. Whereas if you're a kid that's like maybe my age and you start MOTS on Monday or whatever, but then you
yeah.
also, you actually started tracking your sleep. You started being on it with your meals. Placebo effect. That's probably why you're making all this progress and your mitochondria is supercharged. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you just haven't eaten a Twinkie for the last 2 weeks. It's like, so like with you keep all your shit, like you said, 3 cheat meals in the past, like whatever, how long. So it's like you have your shit locked in. So like this, my little ramble, back to the question,
I gotcha.
what peptides have you seen have like really been like needle drivers for you or whatever?
So with the caveat of I've only really known about them this past off season, so
Yeah.
I only really know about the ones that are going to be good in off season. I think the majority of peptides really shine in a contest prep based on what I've looked into and what I've seen. So I will be, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure that Joe plans on having me do some pretty extensive different types of peptides like AOD, 5-amino 1-MQ, stuff like that that I've not used yet will be used in my contest prep. So I'll be documenting that for everybody to see.
Hell yeah.
One of the ways that I know something is working or not is going back into the glucose monitor. You can directly see an effect because a lot of these things are influencing insulin sensitivity. So let's say I wake up, so I go to bed, my blood sugar's at 100, right? Then I take my GHIM, so I'm going to see 2 to 3 hours later, I'm going to see a spike up to like 160, 140, something like that. And then I'm going to see it dive down. Okay, so if I'm in an insulin sensitive state, it's going to probably go all the way down to like 60, and it's just going to ride there. Maybe with some peaks and troughs, but it's just going to ride low. If my insulin sensitivity is getting a little bit worse and glucose is rising a bit, I'm going to see the opposite effect, right? When I added in MOTS-C right off the bat, I noticed actually an increase in energy, which I wasn't expecting. I'd always heard like, oh, in the off season, you don't really feel the energy increase. It just seems to be like you get the blood glucose sensitivity. But actually, right off the bat, I noticed the energy, and it really took about a week for me to actually see any objective data.
That's pretty quick. Yeah. It's still,
Yeah, it took about a week for me to really see any objective data in terms of my blood glucose. Like it took a while to really build up. But my theory for why I felt that energy from MOTS-C is, I don't remember the specific mechanism or how much, but I believe people with severe sleep apnea have, because MOTS-C is a natural occurring like peptide within the body. Like you have levels of MOTS-C in you. So people who have severe sleep apnea produce less. And I think since my sleep apnea is so bad,
that makes sense. I'm
yes,
seeing it, yeah.
that's my thought process behind it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and as far as the blood glucose, I'm doing 2 milligrams a day, which would be considered a bit of a higher dose. I think a starting dose is like a 0.5 milligram to 1 milligram a day. But Joe is of the belief that like in off season, you really need to go a bit higher. And then actually in a contest prep, that's where like a 0.5 milligram to 1 milligram is a bit more effective. So we started being at 2 milligrams.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so in terms of insulin sensitivity, it wasn't really night or day for me. It was just like maybe I'm like 10, 15 points lower at all times. Now, on the days where I am taking Lantus, it's very prevalent. Like you see a stark contrast from when I was using MOTS-C versus when I'm not. It makes a big difference there. It's like the 1 + 1 = 3 effect with that.
Yeah.
And Retta does this as well. Retta, in terms of blood glucose and things like that, game changer. Before I started using Retta, I was running a fasted blood sugar of like 1, just from the introduction of growth hormone and being in that contest prep rebound state. I was having to take like, I want to say it got up to either 2,000 or 3,000 milligrams a day of metformin is what I was having to take to try to get that blood sugar to come down, with really no effect. And then we added in a 0.5 milligram and then brought it up to 1 milligram. When my insulin sensitivity was at its peak this off season, I would wake up 54 blood glucose.
Damn, that's
I'd be
crazy.
I'd be in the middle of a workout, 50, 40, have to sip on my intro bit. Post workout, same thing. Yeah, I would be able to eat every hour, and that's nice for me with a high appetite. I love that.
Yeah. Right, yeah. So that's probably one of the biggest benefits is of having the continuous blood glucose monitor is like you're able to look at like live data of like okay, this one thing is making this one effect. It's like X plus Y equals Z. This is why this is happening. It's like as far as if you didn't have that, it would be a little bit harder to gauge like how good your insulin sensitivity is if you're just doing like for me, I just do like my blood glucose once a week or whatever. But it's like
that's probably enough.
If you especially if like someone like starting out, it's probably just once a week, couple it there. But it's like when you have that continuous thing, like I just said, it's like you're able to live track like, okay, this Retta at this dosage is doing this. This is the response I'm getting, and that makes a lot more sense. Where I think a lot of people may just get into peptides and then throw in maybe like a recommended dosage, have no way of tracking metrics on it, and then they kind of just like willy-nilly it basically. Where it's like if you have something that where you're tracking actual data, it's like, okay, this is causing this. So it's like that makes a lot more sense.
And one thing with blood sugar too, a lot of people before, I think until recently, we thought that this wasn't a thing in non-diabetics, but the dawn effect is real. A lot of people.
I know. Yes. Like when I do my check-ins in the morning, I be sure my check-in day to get up extra early and just do shit around the house and get hydrated. Because like I did like a one reading was like kind of high or whatever, this my past check-in. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna check in because my check-in day is Friday or Saturday, with my coach. So I'm gonna check in tomorrow. I'm gonna get up extra early, work on my computer and shit, get around, do whatever. It was like a 20 to 30 point difference just because I got up, I hydrated, and that dawn effect, I don't know like what the science is behind that. I guess the cortisol spike when you get cortisol spike in it. So like that shit is real, very real, very very real. Yeah, that's pretty,
I will jump
interesting.
With the CGM. I will wake up at about, I think this morning it was 81. I'll wake up 5 minutes later, 100. I'll walk around, I'll hydrate. I'm a big believer in, I do 3 grams of salt and then a half a gallon of water before I even start my fasted cardio for the morning. I'm back down to 70 before I start my fasted cardio. So it's super important.
So crazy. Yeah,
it's super important for people.
People see that reading and not know about like the dawn effect. Be like, fuck, I'm insulin sensitive. No, I'm insulin resistant. No. And then it's like, just give yourself 30 minutes, take a walk. You know, maybe I don't know, do your duties, whatever, and then come back and read it. And then it's like, oh, it's down so much. So yeah, that's cool.
And then another thing too for people with the CGM data, if they don't want to go about that whole thing, what I was getting in there with the dawn effect is, okay, let's say you wake up and for a week straight you're high 90s, low 100s for your blood sugar. Okay, that might not necessarily be an issue. Take your postprandial readings a couple days out of the week. So what that's going to be is outside of your post-workout meal, because typically your post-workout meal is going to have like a lot of sugar, very high carbs, stuff like that. Like my post-workout meal is 225 grams of carbs and however much sugar from banana, honey, and pineapple, right? So I'm not going to do that one. But let's say meal 3. I'm going to check my reading about 2 hours after that. If it is, anything below 90, that's exceptional. 2 hours later. If it's 120, if it's 140, we might need to start looking into some resolution there. People got to remember that fasted blood sugar is just a snapshot in time. So if you see a high reading, you might want to actually get some postprandial info too. And then if that's high, okay, check your A1C. We got an at-home A1C test now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's a big thing with blood sugar or blood glucose that I've seen a lot of guys get fixated on. It's like that one snapshot in time. It can be the same thing with blood work too. It's like that blood work, like I can't remember who mentioned earlier. It's like you could take blood work today and take it in a week and have like almost way different numbers, and it's like you see these one readings or whatever and you start freaking out like, oh my god, I'm dying, my heart's gonna explode. And it's like then you go the next week and it's like everything's in the green. So it's like you gotta take the info for what it's worth. Take it with a grain of salt. If you do multiple readings and you see this negative trend, I think a trend is more important than like the one 100%. Snapshot in time. Like if you see a trend of like negative on whatever, it's like, okay, now let's do some interventions or whatever. But I do agree with you on like the whole peptide aspect of most of them do seem to shine in like a contest prep scenario, and like all the ones that you would think are you would maybe deploy in an off season are more like the ones that have been kind of like blown, came and gone, like the SARMs, like the MK677, like the appetite uppers or whatever. Like those are the ones that are more like off season, and they've kind of just like came and gone. Like no one of smartness, of not dumbness, I guess you could say, is gonna recommend something like an MK or something like that.
Oh yeah,
the thing
I can tell you who will.
Who?
Someone who wants you to go diabetic. That's who's going to recommend MK.
Yeah, I've heard that it has that kind of effect on people, but like just all the peptides do seem more of like mitochondria support or like just not metabolism, but like just that, like the fat burning essentially, like being more whatever. So it's like I agree with that, especially for like an off-season phase. And I do think that like Retta, I have heard like the using the Retta in the off-season. And I do think that like the effects that it plays on blood glucose and all that kind of stuff is really cool, but like in the grand scheme of it, it's like probably more of a prep thing.
It's probably, and just to kind of like, the whole thing I've read on, realistically, it is probably a net negative for the industry, unfortunately. There are going to be people who are going to abuse it. I don't think there is any reason for anybody to be taking 5 to 10 milligrams to 15 milligrams a week of Retta. That's absurd. That's abusive, honestly. And it's something that can work. It's been amazing for me. It has been a big part of why this past 6 months of my bodybuilding has been as good as it has been for me. But I don't get the stomach issues from it. I don't really get very many bad side effects from it at all. I'm trying to think if I've even had. At first, I had a little bit of an increase in heart rate, but that eventually went away. That's it. Yeah. It was like a 5-point up increase. But if you're someone who can't eat on it in the off season, if you're someone who it makes your stomach stick out here, I can pull a vacuum at any point in the day, eating 7,000 calories right now. The Retta clearly isn't causing an issue. But it's like if you're someone who can use it, great. You can use it if you want to. You don't have to. But if you're someone who is getting crazy distension, your heart rate is resting at 100 from just Retta, it's not for you,
Isn't that, it's like that with literally everything. It's like, like you hear it on every single one of like Joe's old podcasts, or every single bodybuilding podcast, probably ever. It's like, it depends. Literally, it depends. Like every single, it's so funny. Every single bodybuilding question, you could stop there and be like, it kind of depends on your situation. It's like, what's the best split? It depends. What's the best cycle? It depends. What's the best diet? It depends. It's like it's so person dependent. Like you said, like with the Retta, you could give Retta to 5 different people, and it's like every single response is going to be different. That's why I think like just nail just to wrap all that whole talk into one thing. It's like, brother, just nail the diet, nail the test, GH, maybe a little like a DHT here and there, and then just train your balls off and just call it.
Not no safer use stuff. We ain't about that. No 3 gram of mast in here. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. One thing I wanted to touch on with you as well is the Arnold. What are your thoughts on the Arnold coming up? I talked about this a little bit earlier with like Hottie, or I think he's gonna come to. He has his visa or whatever. So like Hottie's back in for sure. There for a second. It was kind of a little questionable because Iran was like, or still are kind of like blacked out, but he got out somehow. So you got Hottie, Andrew, Nick, Martin. You got Mo Fuda. You've got Anthony Williams, who looks ridiculous. What are your thoughts on all these guys? And what are your thoughts on the Arnold in general? I'm gonna pull up some of the guys competing.
It's going to be an amazing show, first and foremost. And I had somebody offer me to go, man, and I really wish I could have, but I financially, like I have prep coming up, and anybody who hasn't competed, they got to know, like, realistically, prep can cost you. Prep can easily cost you $5,000 if you take all your little expenses into account.
Yeah.
And so Nick, man, I'm a Nick fan to a fault. Like
me and you both. Like I always love, like, not that he's an underdog by any means, but the way he carries himself to the, like, I don't even like Nick's. I'm more of like the Andrew Jack stature fan. Like, I like the taller frame, but just who Nick is and the way he is, I want a motherfucker.
I want him to win. I want him to win so bad.
And like Martin in the same aspect, kind of, but like Nick, I think Nick's like the original dog, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Martin has it in him to a certain extent, but Nick's like the original, like,
Martin might have a little bit of too much of that dog in him, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I wanted to hit on that. What are your thoughts on him in the last couple of days and his little his little. I'm not gonna call him childish because that's
I got it.
retarded
Yeah.
from me. But like, what are your thoughts on the little comments that he's been making about like what I know beyond?
I love
stage
Martin.
TV. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I love him. He's probably like top 5, top 6 physiques of all time in terms of like what I like. To me, he's like a version of Phil Heath that is yet to be fully realized. Especially when it comes to the Fuwan situation of him thinking like Fuwan didn't believe in him just because he placed him like a spot lower or something.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, man. That's ridiculous. And I understand believing in yourself, but it is immature. That is the number one way to go about it. It is immature, and it's maybe petty is a better way to say it. It's just like, this is not, you are professional. This is not how professional people carry themselves.
That's huge.
And I hate to see it because he has so much potential, but he just can't stay out of his own way. That's what it seems like.
He I know like he wears his heart on his sleeve and he's very
and I love
passionate,
that.
but that's awesome to have, but it's like when you're a professional, like I know like maybe he made that comment and like maybe just didn't think anything about it, but the bouncing back thing is like, oh, we're under your skin now. Like you're upset. Like you're a little like I'm not calling a wine bag or anything, but
I know
it's
what
like,
you mean.
you're a professional, dog. Let's be a little more, professional. But like, I don't know.
Like
I want to see him be good,
And I would say this, like, so I would say he's on this end of the spectrum, and then you have Derek. Derek is maybe almost a little too professional, right? Like, I feel like Derek kind of almost colors his words.
I talked about that on my podcast with what's his name, Sam. It's like his level of professionalism is
too
fake.
much.
I don't care what you say.
It's
like
fake.
there's something about Derek that is programmed, and it's very easy to read that in someone.
It's political.
I don't think no one like tell someone and genuinely be like, we can tell you're being fake, and they're gonna like be like, no, you can't. I'm not being fake, whatever. But with Derek, it's so easy to read. Like I don't know what it is. Like I want to like him because like coming from like a he's very like his faith thing is real, but it's like almost too much. So but him coming from that kind of background, like I want to like him because he's like big into that, and so am I. But it's like I don't think you're genuine, so it's like fuck, I don't know what to believe in, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough, right? So like you have, I really feel like the best person is a mix of the two. I feel like Samson is a bit in the middle with that. He's very professional, but I feel like he also wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah, that's a good point. He is very like that's a really good comparison. As what's his name, Samson.
Yeah, and all of that being said about Martin, I think his potential is limitless. He absolutely could win the Olympia one day. All it takes is one person being off or him improving this amount or that amount, and he's got it. He's there. But however, we got the elephant in the room, and his name is Chindeo Ebuka Andrew J.
Yeah, the elephant in the room. Yeah, literally.
Yes, because he is looking absurd.
Yeah, I talked about this earlier. I hate when they put the thumbnail as their physique, and then you click on it, and it's them training because like this back lat just from this perspective is ridiculous, and like this
if you go to BTS, they probably have it there.
Probably so.
But to me, the key defining thing is like you can even look at his profile picture right now, and you can just look at that like thumbnail. If you look at that and you scroll down to his front lat where it's the thumbnail, I know it's still technically like he's not like if you go a little bit lower, the front double rather. Like, I know he's not technically stage ready yet, but man, anybody who can't see the difference in density there.
Yeah, because he only had 6 weeks with Kamal leading into the Olympia and brought his best. Now it's been, the Olympia was in October, right? No, yeah, October. Wait,
something like that. I'm terrible.
So it's like 2 or 3 months, 2, 3 months, 4 months. Having that much different of a training in just 6 weeks, making that drastic of a difference is ridiculous.
I'll say this, like, not to poo-poo on anyone's work ethic or anything, but we've heard stories about Andrew, like, eating Kit Kats on the Stairmaster and stuff. Like, I mean, come on.
Because he's never really been, like, I'm not saying he's never been, like, locked in or whatever, but he was kind of like a social media guy for, like, the longest time. He's not been
bodybuilding, but he's only been competitively bodybuilding for, what, 3 years, 5 years? Something like that.
Yeah, so it's like, if you threw him in like a box, I'm trying to find this if they have this picture on by itself.
Yeah, you could probably even just Google it, you know.
Yeah, that too. But it's like just if you take someone like that and lock them in a box with like, I don't know, Dennis James and all those guys that are like in it, like that kind of physique is just like
it's untouchable.
It's great. And like I want to see him do well. Like that, his physique is like what I like when you think of the Olympia. Like, not saying Derek's physique isn't good and amazing, and not saying the Hottie's isn't whatever, but it's like that.
They have more caps.
That is what I deem as like the physique. Hymns, you know, I know Samson kind of slipped this year, which was crazy to see him slipping so much, but like that taller frame, in my opinion, is what screams bodybuilding, just in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, a bigger bodybuilder,
bias, but yeah,
like a taller frame, when filled out, will always beat a shorter frame. It just isn't how it is.
Of course.
It's just simple math. Like, the guy who's 5'9" has less size to take up on the stage than the guy who's 5'11", and so on. Hottie Chupan, amazing. Nick, amazing. Derek, amazing. But their best cannot compete with Andrew and Samson's best if all things are equal. Now, that being said, they have different strengths. If somehow in a perfect world, Samson was able to get to that level of Hottie conditioning, he'd be unbeatable. But is that possible for Samson? I would argue probably not. I don't think that, especially after this past Olympia, what we saw, I just don't think that he can achieve that look. And that's okay. He doesn't have to. Clearly, he's already had a look that is good enough to win the Olympia. And I believe he can definitely do so again. But a question I would have for you is, at their best, who do you think wins? Andrew Jack or Samson? Because they're very similar physiques.
Damn. Fuck, that's hard. You know,
let's say Samson. Let's say Samson with the conditioning and size, or so the conditioning of this past year, but the size even bigger from when he won. The potential package he could bring to 2026 is what I'm saying.
That's so hard, man.
I don't know. He's 350 pounds.
I still kind of want to say Andrew, to be honest, but just the fact that Samson can get to, this is another point I want to hit on with you, is how can you get to 350 and still have these, like, the abs, like all his physique physique checks or progress checks or whatever, like this 50 with this level of still definition is crazy. Like, I don't know if Andrew could do that. Like, I don't know if he could get that big. And like, I don't know, is this a detriment to Samson's physique? We'll just have to see on stage.
I don't think so. Like, I don't see how it can be, man, because like you're saying, he's staying lean. So not to compare myself to Samson by any means, but with me personally, right now I said I'm like a fasted weight of 250.8. I still have my abs. I still have faint glute lines. I still have some lines in my legs, stuff like that. I started this offseason at under 200 pounds. If you would have told me 8 months ago, that I would have abs at 250 right now, I'd call you fucking crazy. But because of how locked in I've stayed with my diet, especially, I think that's the key. Like, how many people do we know of that realistically don't cheat on their diet over the course of a year? Like, less than 5 times. Very few.
Not very many. Yeah.
And I've not seen Samson post any of these crazy cheat meal challenges. If he has had a free meal.
I think the Olympia really left I think the Olympia left a bad taste in his mouth, bro. Like, I think that really pissed him off. And then he went to Prague, and they're like, "Oh, Samson's gonna come walk the floor." And Martin was like, "Here I come," and then he beat him. So it's like, I bet that really, I think that's probably the ultimate driver for why he's pushing up to hell. Probably gonna be 400 pounds at some point. And I think if I don't know, it's like I think I had this talk. Who did I have this talk with? Someone. Just having his wife be his coach. Yeah. I hope he's able to bring a level of conditioning that wins him with bringing that size. 'Cause I think if you can combine that, like the right amount of fire and ice or whatever, however you want to put it, and just having the right combo of both, I think would be, after being 350, would be something to see. Like, I think that's going to be ridiculous.
The thing is, too, man, he's reached this weight. He's already almost 350, and he said he's not going to go heavier than 350. We'll see if that holds up, but he says that. Yeah. If he stays at 350 and he holds that new muscle is going to have a chance to solidify and be seasoned. And there's real truth to that. If you just gain weight and you immediately go to cut, a lot of that's going to fall off.
It's gone. Yeah.
And again, I can relate to that a bit in myself right now. So I have higher calories on training days than I do on rest days. rest days are a bit more, or the day after a rest day rather, is a bit more of a view into like, okay, what is my real weight? Because I don't have all this food in my stomach. I don't have nearly as much water or stuff like that. So for me to really be like a true 250, I'm going to need to be 250 after a rest day. Or like after after two consecutive rest days. And for me, it will take like my initial onset of hitting that 250 a couple weeks ago. It's going to take at least a month for me to have a day like that. And realistically, you'd probably want to maybe even longer. So I would say at least 2 to 3 months you would want to hold a weight before you go to cut that off. And Samson's got, what, 6 months to do that? At that point, he's going to recomp.
Yeah, if he can hold like a 340 to 350 until he has to prep and then go from there, it's like, hell, he's going to be on stage at fucking 310 or something. It's like...
Yeah, and he's not got a lot of fat to lose. That's the thing.
Exactly. Has Andrew ever pushed up like that? I've not been in like the bodybuilding space for too long.
He goes, if I'm not mistaken, he goes a little dark in the off season. I don't think he really gives too many updates. So maybe he does.
That is true. I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, and I've not really followed Andrew too much until this past year, because I always saw him as someone who like he was kind of tapping on the door of his potential. But then this year, with him placing third, we really saw what he was capable of. I mean, he's never been sloppy fat. I can tell you that.
No, yeah. All these pictures, there's like saying like 300 pounds, but nothing like fucking 350.
I mean, he's 315 right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
so he's probably going to compete around 305, something like that.
That's a super old picture.
Yeah,
super old picture. Yeah.
To me, honestly, in terms of the debate on like Samson versus Andrew, I really think Andrew is one of those cases if you have to see it in person. Because to me, when I look at Andrew's physique, there are a lot of gaps, like between his arms and his forearms, just because, like the way they insert. Different areas, there are gaps, which on one hand, those gaps actually create a more aesthetic physique because there's ebbs and flows to it, right? With Samson, and I think in classic, that would actually probably be better criteria for them. In open, you don't want any gaps. You don't want any space that is unfilled, right? Now, that doesn't mean you want a stomach sticking out 4 feet, but, I think Samson has less gaps in his physique. And with Andrew, I mean, do we think Andrew, is his back his strongest body part or something like that? I mean, I don't think it's weak by any means, but I don't think it's his strongest body part.
Yeah, right.
And with Samson, I think if Samson brings up his back, that's the only thing. If he can bring up his back, he already had some of the best legs in the IFBB before this past year.
Yeah. I do think there's more potential for Andrew simply because he has more gaps. But I think if we're talking the next year or two, if the gaps that Samson has less to improve on, so if he can nail those before Andrew kind of I don't know what I'm trying to say. If he can bring up the back basically. If he can bring up the back before Andrew makes his improvements, basically. If Andrew were to make all the improvements he needed to in the next year, it's like, well, that's kind of out of the window now. But it's like if he still has those gaps to fill, and then Samson brings it back up, I think he would win. Going back to your original question, who would win, peak Samson or peak Andrew? Probably peak Samson, not peak Samson. Yeah. Now looking at it.
Another question is who lasts longer? Who's still in? Because they're not young. Who's in the game for longer? Old. Yeah. They're both. Samson, I mean, I want to say.
Samson has a short bodybuilding life, I believe.
So does Andrew. Yeah.
And so does Andrew. Yeah, but like they say, black don't crack. So I bet they probably got a little bit in them, but
Yeah, but in terms of the career goes, I mean, we have examples of guys like Dexter Jackson going on for a really long time, but Dexter Jackson wasn't at 300 pounds on stage.
Yeah, I don't think you can do a Dexter Jackson being 350. I think that has some ramifications at the end of it. But with the Arnold,
it has to. With
the Arnold, what would you give me your analytical top three, and then I know there's I want this to be the top three, because that's how I am. So give me your analytical one, and give me your fantasy league, let's say top three or whatever, or top five or whatever.
Analytical, I think Andrew. I really do, because he's never looked this good this far out. He has the structure. It looks like his condition is going to be good enough. I mean, Hottie never misses, but if there ever was a time to bet on him missing, it's right now. He's got a lot going on.
He's battled with stress before, but
not like this.
not like this. So that as much as you mentally tell yourself, oh, it's not affecting me, I'm sure that being locked out of your country and your whole country, because he's never had a time period where his fans hated him, and because his fans have always like had the murals up in the gyms of him.
Yeah,
and I know one guy was talking about on a podcast I was listening to yesterday about how they like tore it down, and it's like that's gonna be playing in your head regardless of how mentally resilient you are. So like I do think that's one the first thing when you said Andrew, it's like yes, because Hottie is gonna be what's the word, stressed or preoccupied with thinking about stuff like that. So yeah, I completely agree.
And then I think realistically though, just betting on batting averages, performances in the past, I do still think Hottie takes second. Then I want to say Nick third.
Is that your analytical or is that like fantasy league?
That's analytical.
Yeah,
I don't think Nick and Martin were compared enough at the Olympia, and also Nick was extremely off. Now I'm going off of the analysis here that Nick is going to be able to do a much better job with himself than he did with Kyle. And that's nothing against Kyle, but I just think Nick is a grown man, and he's been doing bodybuilding longer than some people have been alive, and I think he knows his body.
Seriously, yeah.
And I think he's going to be able to. He's at the very least going to be able to bring a package that we've seen before. It may not be his best ever. Yeah. It could be his best ever, though. I don't think it's not going to be his worst ever, though. And realistically, I think if he's even a little bit better at the Olympia, he places over Martin probably. Because what was Martin, fifth?
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, Nick was sixth, and he was his worst ever. So realistically, I see that going that way. And then Martin after that, and fifth, I don't even know. I guess Anthony.
I want to see Mofu to do well.
Mofu fifth. Yeah,
I want to pull it over. That's been a physique update in the past couple of days that has like been ringing in my head. Is this front lat that?
Patrick and I really think that
of him. Yeah.
The only difference between my analytical and like fantasy would be Nick either taking first or second. That'd be it. Yeah, that'd be it. And I say first or second because, man, even, I would be real, if Andrew looks even close to how I think he's going to look, even in my wildest dreams, Nick still doesn't beat that.
Yeah, I think that, I can't remember, someone was like, I think Luke Pritchard said it maybe. Andrew at 90% beats a lot of guys at 100%, but I know, like,
but man, this physique right here is wild.
I want to see Mofu. This front lat is very... And this most muscular is like very impressive, but like people have knocked on him in the past, like his back,
That being said, we got that classic P-Tor filter on though, so
yeah, that is true. That is.
We're gonna be seeing what it looks like on stage, and I think he could do very well. I could see him placing as high as fourth.
Yeah. I could see that too. I could see if Martin's off a little bit and he comes in and P-Tor does his thing with him. I could definitely see that. But yeah, I think mine's the exact same as yours, bro. It's Andrew, it's Hottie. I like Nick, so I want Nick to come in and hell, at the Olympia I was wanting Nick to I wanted Nick to win the Olympia because I was like
same.
Hell, coming in, killing it at Pittsburgh. I should have won.
Doing that bodybuilding math.
Yeah, I was like I want him to win and then just
realistically.
Yeah, go ahead.
If Hottie is really off, like bad, like we've never seen before, Nick could easily beat him. Mm-hmm. And honestly, if Nick is his best ever and Hottie is just like slightly off, Nick could win or be second.
I could see that for sure. But yeah, I think for me, it's Andrew, Hottie, Nick, Martin, and then for that fifth spot, you got Raph, you got Mo Fuda, you've got Anthony Williams, you've got. Who else?
I think it's going to be... I think Mo Fuda or Anthony are just going to stop Raph. I really think Raph is going to be lucky to be like 8th, honestly.
Yeah, because I remember someone mentioned
he's just one of these guys.
Yeah, it's like in the past year, he took off because he had health conditions. So it's like he didn't have a year off of improving. He had a year off of health. So he's going to come in, if you think about it, bro science, bro math. It's like you're going to come in the same you were a year ago because you had a whole year of, or worse, because you had a whole year of just fixing things. You didn't have a whole year of building shit. So it's like, I do think Mo Fuda, and it's crazy to think that Anthony Williams goes to the Arnold because of him qualifying for it last year the way he did, and then him being a potential top 5 is like, that's pretty crazy. I don't even know who else is in it. Who else is?
I don't either, man.
Guys?
I don't either. But what about
Mustafa? I think is in it.
He'll be lucky to be 10th. His conditioning is like I've never been shredded, and even I can make fun of that man's conditioning.
I've never been a fan of his physique. It's very like just.
I'm a fan of what it could be.
Muscle. He's got muscle for days, but it's just like and then there's no conditioning, so it's like
it's like man.
My wheelhouse.
It's like, man, you have all the potential in the world. Like, I don't care if you literally have to fast for 7 days to get in shape. Fucking do it.
Just dial it the fuck in, bro.
Like he could lose 30 pounds of muscle. I'm not even kidding. He could lose 30 pounds of muscle and he would still have muscle to spare. But what do you think about, because I'm not super big into classic anymore after realizing that I can't do the division anymore. But what do you think about the classic for Olympia, or not the Olympia, the Arnold rather?
The Arnold, I'm excited for that, you know, not just for seeing like, you know, like Sam do like whatever, and
Yeah.
that's gonna be cool. I think like people have mentioned, if he gets anything but dead last, the win for him, which I could see him actually doing pretty well. Some of those guys though, I'm excited to see. Like one guy I really like his physique is Canu Paul. I think his name Paul is the black guy. He's coached by Phil Viz. He's someone I'm really excited to see. I'll pull him up right quick.
Yeah, as soon as you said he was coached by Viz, I knew who you were talking about.
Yeah, as far as who I think maybe will win or whatever, it's Mike, Wesley.
Yeah, those are two front runners for sure.
Before I pull up, what's his name, Paul, I'm gonna pull up the page. I will be excited to see what Mike will look like after having some time, knowing he has to be blank weight. Because like before, he had to drop like 20 pounds in like a day or whatever. Like
it was 12.
So it's like now that he's had the time to kind of rethink his process, yada yada yada, tighten it up. I am excited to see how that'll look. But so we got Vizers, Kim Angel, Sam Sulik, Mike Sommerfeld, Menegate, Paul Canu. Mamoli looks really good.
Yeah. That's the hard thing with Classic, is they all look so good and they're all essentially the same weight. It's like, it's literal apples. Yeah. It's apples and apples. It's Granny Smith apples versus Golden Delicious. It's like, it's not even apples and oranges. It's like,
I've never heard that analogy. I love that. But like, I would like to see Vizers come back.
Dude, he's my favorite Classic guy of all time.
Yeah, and the not the downfall, because it's not like he's out of it forever, but like he won the Arnold like 2 years ago or whatever it was, and then I was like, crap, he may come in like win the fucking Olympia, and then he came in and got like 6th or whatever. And then like that one show he got like 8th or whatever. I was like, what the hell happened? But yeah, he's a physique. I'd like to see him do well.
Yeah. Mike just
Mamoli looks really
open,
good too.
man.
Mamoli's really, seriously, yeah. Mamoli looks. I want to pull him up. He's really good at posing. I want to pull him up.
To me, Wesley is a guy who embodies Classic and what it should be. To me, Mike looks classic, right? Like, he has a beautiful physique and incredible posing. But, dude, if you're having to suffer and sacrifice mass this much to make weight, you're not meant to be classic anymore. Like,
it's body building, not building body breakdown.
How are you ever going to improve from here forward? He's not. Yeah. Like, guys like Niall Darwin are going to smoke Mike in the future.
Crazy, yeah.
They're just going to smoke him because Mike has nowhere left to go. He just has to fight to get a previous look with, like, 1% better lines here and there. And, you know, this guy here, Paul, this is a guy who I'm sure he's under the weight cap, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's got room to improve. Classic should not be this thing where you get a look and you just repeat it over and over and over and over and over again, and you never improve, right?
That's what happened to Urs. Is like he would get up to 260 with glute lines, and then I cannot imagine mentally having to accept in the next X amount of weeks I'm gonna lose 30 pounds of tissue like that. I would not be able to accept that. Like, I mean, this was a shot I was thinking about. This back shot.
That's wild.
This just like embodies Classic in my opinion.
That's Classic.
Give this guy a couple years to grow, and he's gonna.
That's mass. That's mass, but it's not overpowering. That's the thing. It's like when we saw Mike play second, it's like it was legitimately almost too much for Classic.
Mm-hmm.
The back double specifically, like it was wild. But to me, this is a very good example of like what Classic should be, and I really think there's a big problem with this division. They need to cut down on the judging criteria and like what is and is not Classic, right? Because is Classic really just bodybuilding with a weight cap? That's kind of shitty, man. This is Classic. This right here is what Classic should be. Legs that fit but are not overpowering. Like, I want to have big legs. They've always been a weak point for me. Like, I want to have Tom Black's legs. It's never happened, but I want it to happen, right? So I understand, you know, liking the guys with really big legs, but like when we say Classic physique, what does that mean? Does that mean 80s, 70s? To me, Wesley embodies like 70s, 80s. Then you have a guy like Chris, he embodies a bit more kind of like the late 80s, 90s, right?
Yeah, yeah. This
So like, what is it?
him, and this is classic
Yeah.
to me, bro.
This is, yeah, man.
This
And this is an example of gaps, like almost making someone look more classic, right? Like when he pulls up in that front double, like there's no waist whatsoever. Like, and his low back is a bit downside, which makes his waist look even smaller from the back. Now, the only real thing that we can pick apart on him is hamstrings. That's it. He brings up hamstrings and adductors. He's there. Maybe a little chest.
Who's one classic guy that's not in any of this talk that I'm sure is that I just recently discovered
Andy?
is Andy, yeah, too, but
Kyrie, yes.
Kyrie, yeah. I was listening to like I don't know how to spell his name. Shit.
HKH, I think.
KH. I was listening to like an old podcast, like one of the very first ones that him and
Yeah, there it is. KIR. Yeah.
That they did like a long time, like 2 years ago, and I remember I was watching it yesterday, and I pulled up his like this is nuts.
It's phenomenal. And here's the thing: he's probably fucking 20 pounds under the weight cap. That's the thing.
That's awesome, bro. I remember I saw this yesterday, and I was like, wow, that is fucking impressive, bro. I just want to give him a quick little
Kyrie's awesome.
Time shout out. Yeah, that's awesome. And hearing his mentality behind the whole process of bodybuilding in general is really, really inspiring too. But I don't know. So like for the Arnold who I'd want to do what I think is going to go down or whatever, probably I'm just gonna be honest, probably Mike first.
Yeah, probably.
And probably Mike, Wesley. Honestly, that third spot is all kind of all over the place. You got Menegate, you've got Mamoli, you've got that Canoe, you got Kim Angel, so it's like kind of up in the air. But I think that top two is probably solidified as Mike and Wesley, to be honest.
Yeah, that would be my analytical pick, and then like my fantasy pick is Wesley.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. Man.
Wesley's awesome, man.
Just wrapping this all up, I want to end on my podcast with this one question that you probably were expected. But when your time comes, Anson, how do you want to be remembered as a person, as a bodybuilder in general? How do you want to be remembered when your time comes, bro?
Work ethic. To put it into one simple phrase, work ethic. I don't want anybody to question my passion for the sport and what I was willing to do or not do for it. All in, as all in can be. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm reckless. A lot of people will hear that and be like, oh, this means you're taking a bunch of drugs. No, that's not what that means. It means I'm taking a bunch of drugs and I'm being healthy. But like realistically, nothing will stand in my way from being my best version of myself. And if that's what I remember for is that work ethic, then I'm happy with that. Would I love to turn pro one day? Sure. But if I don't have a pro quality physique, who cares, right? Like, I want a pro quality physique, which for me, realistically, being 5'9", I'm going to have to be a super heavyweight. Well into it. I would think probably my body weight right now, but contest shape, like probably, 250 to 260 on stage, maybe 240 if I'm lucky. I don't have the best shape in the world, but I don't have the worst shape either. So I figure probably somewhere between 240 to 260. Mm-hmm. I think that I'm on track. If everything goes to plan this year, I should be a heavyweight, maybe towards the top end of heavyweight. So I really think by the time I turn 30, I would like to be at the national level, at least, fighting for that spot.
Yeah, for sure. I do think, like, going back to the work ethic thing, it's like that's what so many people should strive for. Fuck the pro card, forget the placing, forget the likes, forget the...
Yeah.
You should just aim for that work ethic, and that work ethic should, if, you have the genetics and you check all your variables, should result in a pretty damn good physique. And even if it doesn't, you've built the work ethic that you can apply to anything else in life, which I think is the most important part of bodybuilding in general, is the work ethic, the structure, and the discipline that it takes. Because like I mentioned in the beginning, from the second you wake up to the second that you close your eyes, you have to be doing something. You're doing something actively to aid in this process, whether it be... You're eating, whether it be you're sleeping, whether it be you're hydrating, get your supplements, get your steps in, doing your session, whatever. It's like you can carry all of those that checking the box mentality to anything. And that work ethic.
And it's not just checking the boxes; it's checking them off with excellence and with precision. Because a lot of people can hear that and they'll think, oh, it's good enough. I did this good enough. No, you have to be doing it with excellence. That's the hard part. Is you can't just wake up and go through the motions. You have to wake up and go through the motions, but you're actively going through those motions with effort and intent.
With intention.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah, it's like the same thing I talked about with Chris earlier. It's like with like training. It's like, are you just doing the motion, or are you feeling the fucking muscle do the motion?
Yep.
Are you actually living in the moment, carrying out your day? Because something I tell myself, and that I will tell myself until I die, is the way that I do one thing is the way that I do fucking everything. It's like the way that I wake up, the way that you wake up, not make this by myself, but the way that someone wakes up and makes their bed every day is the same way that you're going to follow through with following your diet. And we come back to the cheat on the diet thing. When you cheat one little thing off your diet, you're probably gonna skip out on your supplements for the day. You're probably gonna sit on and watch TikTok for fucking 3 hours and not go to sleep. It's all gonna snowball, and it all comes down to that work ethic and being like actively present and intention with every action you do. And if you can carry that kind of mentality into any job, like let's just say that bodybuilding, for the guy watching this, doesn't work out. Carry that shit into whatever career you end up going down, and you're probably going to work your way up to the top of the ladder way damn quicker than anyone else could ever imagine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like the work ethic that bodybuilding can teach someone that's young, and that's taught me. Like, I've only been like locked in or whatever for like a year and a half, and it's completely changed my life as far as a mental aspect. And I think so many guys just need to realize, like, that is what you should, not that's what you should get into it for, but that is what you will get from it, and that is worth of value, is the work ethic shit.
What you get out of it is what you put into it, and you have to expect nothing from it. Give everything you have to it and expect nothing in return. Bodybuilding has given me everything I have. I would not have my job. I would not have this house. I would not have my wife. I would not have anything. I would probably be under a bridge somewhere. I have an addictive personality. If I didn't have this to channel into that, I guarantee you I would probably be dead. It's given me everything I have. So if I can use it to continue to make my life and shape it the way that I want it to be, that's awesome. But if I never get anything else from it other than the look that I want to achieve, that's enough for me.
Yeah, I think that hitting that like addictive personality thing like one last time is like it's such a concept and such a thing to have, because in like the realm of bodybuilding, if you can, just the addictive personality take in general, if you can channel that into something that's positive, it's an amazing thing. But like you said, if you didn't have this, it's like, where could that have gone? Because like for me, and for I know you had like a video game history as well. It's like, if I could have been the kid that just had a addictive personality, just went down that and did that my whole life. Like half the people at Walmart I work with, that's literally all they do. It's like they get off of work, they're depressed, they're this. I'm like, well, what are you doing with like the other, I don't know, 14 hours every day? Well, I'm doing this game or whatever, which like,
playing World of Warcraft.
It's cool. I think all that kind of stuff's cool in moderation, but it's like that obsessive mentality is just like, it's a double-edged sword. It can be good, but it can also be a terrible thing for some people,
Absolutely. Everything in moderation, except for growth hormone.
Except for GH. All right, bro. Well, this was fucking awesome. I love getting to talk to you, man. Just getting to talk to someone that's like-minded is always a good talk. I'd love to run this back anytime in the future. If you're free or whatever, just let me know. If you ever just want like have a day off the gym or some shit, I'm off work.
Absolutely.
Get on here.
And I gotta have you on my show sometime too.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Anytime, bro. Anytime. Well, bro, this is awesome. Whenever this goes live or whatever, I'll shoot you a link or whatever, and then